I was going to need to be restrained just over what this guy had told me. He aroused a jealousy in me and all this that King Solomon alludes to. Blows and disgrace are the lot of these kind of guys that worm their way into, they're adulterers that want to defile your wife. Okay, this is it. This is what there's certain element. They're really bad actors that most guys that are even a little bit of a man's man, they say, I wouldn't go near that troubled marriage. Okay, that's it, man. You couldn't pay me enough. There's a lot of fish in the sea. I don't need to get involved in this. But, then there's these kind of guys, and he was one of them. But I smelled something that stunk to high heaven from the get-go. But she stayed with this guy year after year, and my kids weren't getting phone calls. I ended up getting custody after 2 years. It was really hard because the court system basically looked at me as a disgruntled ex-husband that was just trying to get back at his wife by getting custody of my kids. I was living in Santa Cruz. So I bought this mobile home in Santa Cruz, a good place to, have the kids, because before that I really didn't have a good place. I was living in a little RV, a little trailer down there, and it wasn't a good place for the kids, but I got custody, and after a couple of years, I'm paying an attorney. I had to borrow money from my church, Seventh-day Adventist. I didn't have to pay the money back. It was kind of a brotherhood grant kind of thing, but I did. I paid it back and a lot more after that, but it's another story. But I kept hearing stories about Larry, and he was being mean to my daughters and just doing bizarre things, and they were sometimes hysterical. I had to do security checks because I was 530 miles away in Santa Cruz and call the cops to check on them. And so he knew I was watching him like a hawk, so he was being careful. And I was quizzing him about stuff. But later it came out that, some things happened that they were pretty close to being molested. If I hadn't been keeping a hawk's eye on these kids, something would have happened. But he was also, I got wind that he was abusive to my children's mother. And so I didn't like that either. And the idea that this played a part in why she had broken off contact with the kids, not writing them or calling them and stuff, it really got to me. So I stood up when I was picking him up once, and I told him, right face to face, I said, Larry, if I find out, you hit Lisa or the kids again, because he was spanking the kids. I told him, it was a bit of a dig. I wanted to kind of get this guy to throw a punch or something, probably in my mind. I kind of wanted to set it off. Because I wanted him to know, that I was the boss here still. That he was in the middle of this messy divorce and all this. But this guy flipped out. He's bigger than me too, but he ran up into his apartment, and I stood there. I thought, oh my God, is this, my last day on earth? This guy's going to shoot me? I didn't know what he was going to grab. I was standing there basically defenseless. Didn't have any weapons except my fists. And he comes back, and he was swinging a bat around, threatening me, intimidating me with this bat. But I don't remember calling the cops on him, but later all this stuff came out because, you got probation departments and stuff like that when you're working on a child custody case and all that. But they finally believed me that I was very concerned that this guy wasn't right. I don't know what else they found out about him, his history of being molested as a child and being abused physically, but, they knew stuff I didn't know. So I got custody, and finally I got custody of my daughters and raised them in Santa Cruz. But it was heartbreaking just the whole time. I mean, for years and years and years. They didn't get phone calls, they didn't get cards or letters or anything from their mother, but I knew it was because of this guy. So it was torturous. I lived a torturous life down there. Just, I'd go to work, and before the sun was up, when my daughters were still in bed when they were little girls, and go get some work in, I had to take them to 2 different schools. But, the grace of God is amazing. And, He gave me the strength and wherewithal to get through this period. And I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. But it was painful. It was so painful to know this guy was intimidating my wife, and there was nothing I could do. That this is why that my kids didn't have a relationship with their mother. It almost killed me. But it made me stronger. It really did. And my daughters and I, to this day, And we have a bond that just cannot be broken. We have an exemplary relationship. And like I said, I wouldn't trade it for anything. God, it's worth so much more than multi-billions of dollars. So, whatever you're going through in life, man, just hold your head high, stay strong. God will help you. You turn to God, He'll get you through anything. Anything. This guy wound up, he was arrested being a molester. His own daughter, they had a daughter together. Cute little kid, best little kid in the world. God, such a sweetheart. Got to meet her. She was about 7. When I moved down to Vegas, I got to meet her. And he was in prison for being a molester. He molested his own daughter, a neighborhood kid. I'm not going to go into the details, but it's horrendous. My former wife told me what he had done. I just couldn't believe it. You just can't imagine treating your own daughter that way. It's horrible. Just like, God, where's your conscience, man? But he's done. He's doing life in prison because he tried to put a hit out on her from prison. That was caught on video by a snitch. And then he tried to put a hit out on the DA. So the guy's cooked. He's done. He's in his 70s now. 72 years old if he's still alive. Never had any relationship with his daughter. So it's just absolutely heart-rendering. He was an abused child. He's sexually and physically abused. So, how much, when you know all the details, how the devil's in there, how much can you hate this person, So I'm just saying, it's tough, man. It's tough being human. But God will get you through. Will, not can. Promises. If you turn to Him, He'll get you through anything. And I've walked through hell. And believe me, things still aren't perfect because I see world events of just spiraling out of control. And people just fighting against any attempts to turn this ship around. They're just like hyenas nipping at Trump's heels, man. Trying to bring the world into prosperity, freedom, and security, happiness. And they just are just livid, just beside themselves, apoplectic at even him attempting to turn the ship around. No, they want to kill the vast majority of people. That's the same caliber, the Georgia Guidestone people, the money printing class, these elitist scumbags, these hypocrites, the climate alarmist types. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Wolves in sheep's clothing, a lot of them, like Al Gore. Wow, he looks so good. He talks so good. Sounds so good, man. Well, so did Satan, the devil, in the Garden of Eden. The serpent, yeah, sounded good, didn't it? Another thing why married people are more attractive is that it's the confidence. Once, you realize how lovable you are, your husband revels in you, ladies, and he does. In a good marriage, he's going to revel in you, right? Deeply. And the husbands also know, so the men get better looking, the women get better looking. And a lot of it has to do with confidence, and the relationship and the accountability in the relationship. All that plays a part in the attractiveness in a good marriage. But you can't let it go to your head, because that's where you're going to have serious problems. A lot of adultery, a lot of men, I don't know, men have this polygamist mentality. They all want a harem or something, so a lot of them look at porn and all this, and a lot of wives, they don't like it. They may not say anything. They don't want to act jealous about something so trivial, a fantasy of looking at other women, images, pornographic images or something. So they won't say anything, but it bugs them. It bugs them. If you're a man and it's going to bug your wife that you're doing that. And, usually women don't have that issue. They're a little different. They're their own issues. I don't know what they are. I'm not a woman. And also there are some integral differences that stem from this fall of man and the original sin and the Garden of Eden and all this. And that is the fact where, initially, remember that God took how did he fashion the woman? He took a rib from the man. Of all the ways that God could have made the woman, he did this for a reason, right? He took a rib. So the man was now incomplete. He was not going to feel whole. This was a way that God was fulfilling his commandment to go forth, be fruitful, and multiply. Because the man cannot feel whole. A man is not right? Everybody knows. Even the Bible says it's not good for man to be alone. This is what God said out of the mouth of God Almighty. This is how it's written. It's not good for man to be alone. So no man is okay. No man is an island to himself. When he's alone, he's missing a rib. He's not whole. He needs a woman to feel whole. And every man has a yearning to feel whole. So there you go. That's why, only 25% of men are over 50 are unmarried. Okay, which explains why 50% of women are unmarried. Okay, it's not because necessarily there's so many more women than men, but it's because women do much better alone. They're at least whole. You understand? Their paradigm, the way they feel intrinsically, instinctively, is that they are at least a whole rib. You get it? But they've got their own issues because they feel somehow less than the man. You understand? So this isn't so even like a cultural thing, and the men have been subjugating women and they've been in these positions of power. A lot of this has natural reasons why that these roles that we've played through the ages are like they are, okay? Is that women don't feel, I'm not going to use the term that you know what I'm thinking of, but that women don't feel like they're enough. They feel like they're less than men. But men see the woman as the apple of their eye, as this is it, man. This is the end all of what I'm after in life, is this woman, this beautiful creature, God's finest creature. I mean, look at her. Look how God fashioned the woman, perfectly customized. Just perfect, absolutely irresistible beauty. I mean, orgasmic beauty, man. I mean, this is it. Just enthralling, exciting, thrilling beauty and irresistible qualities that the man absolutely does not want to resist, does not want to fight this urge to just hold on to her, to become one with her, to give her all he's got, all that God gave him to give, all the procreation forces within him, this beautiful thing, these drugs and chemicals that are released at this period, this magic, this electric magic that is released when they make union with each other in this beautiful embrace of love making. Okay, it's the best. It's the greatest thing that you can ever find in this life, in my opinion, is a good marriage, good wife, good husband. And you've got it all. Don't ever imagine that there's anything better. That's just Satan, the devil's in the detail in the back of your head, trying to just woo you away from what is a very holy thing, the holy matrimony, the consecration of the man and the woman to become one flesh. They're whole. And that's why Satan's always after a good marriage. Doesn't want it to succeed. I mean, my wife and I, we were working under enormous odds. There was issues that I had induced in the marriage that involved drug use, and my fault. Adultery was involved, my fault. And then of all the toppers, okay, was the loss of my third child, my son, his sudden infant death. Oh, well, no autopsy, perfectly healthy baby boy, 2 weeks later, just died. We're not going to talk about the hepatitis B shot that was given to him on day one, this vaccination that guys like Rand Paul said never would he allow his children to be vaccinated day one, but they did it to my son. And then you hear of two classes of vaccinations, well, one for the rich people and one for the poor people. You scratch your head, you go, what in the hell? You got to be kidding me. I find all this stuff out later after the fact. Otherwise, if I'd sued in time, I could have tapped it if I had known about this super fund that's set up, this vaccination damage fund, that the mainstream media is completely mum's the word. We're not talking about this when it comes to pushing vaccines. Okay. But my wife and I were operating under a lot of duress. 1 out of 10 marriages, to give you an idea of the statistics, survives the loss of a child. So Satan was really after my marriage, and he got it. At least, I mean, I don't have my wife in my loving embrace, do I? So, no. Former wife, whatever. She'll always be my beloved. I will always revere and respect the woman, cherish the time